Happy Venerable Day of the Sun, brothers and sisters. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. I know it's a little bit late today. I actually did a video yesterday that I was going to release today. I had a message I felt pulled to do, but as I sat there and chewed the cud, it didn't really seem like something that I wanted to quite put out. It was just kind of all over the place, but I'm feeling pulled today, led by the Spirit, if you will, to address something that it's running rampant, and this may not be a sermon that you're used to. It may not have a whole lot of biblical basis with chapter and verse and quotes and everything like that. But if you bear with me, you'll get the gist. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of people that are hopeless, completely and utterly hopeless. They have no one, they have nothing. They have nothing to look forward to. All that they're doing is just treading the wheels, and they're feeding self to become comfortably numb, whether it be addiction, whether it be really anything. Anything is a form of addiction if you do it too much, whether it be social media, whether it be physical addiction, whether it be a drug, alcohol addiction, anything like that, a criminal addiction, crime, violence, anything. And just to get a little tiny bit of a rush, a momentary happiness, to feed themselves just for a bit, they're willing to do anything. Some just want to be numb. They want to be gone. They don't want to see this life anymore. They don't want it. And they don't want it to end because they still have a little tiny bit of hope that things may change. But they're basically hopeless. They're just treading water until the finale, the end. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to put yourself in those shoes, because I was there before. But it's heartbreaking that we're letting this continue. For a nation that was built on Judeo-Christian beliefs, less and less people are believing in God, and less people who claim to believe in God are surrounding themselves. They're walling themselves up, shutting themselves off, and they're looking at the negativity of the world as a separation, instead of being Christ-like and being a light in the world to shine through the darkness. This world is being overcome by darkness, and that's why darkness is winning. It's popular nowadays to be a victim. I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would want to be a victim. I've been there where I looked at myself as a victim, but I didn't want to be there. A lot of people, their entire lives are based, and they run around being a victim. What life has done to me, what the world has done to me, what people have done to me, what I've done to myself. And now I'm in this pit of despair. A lot of people, they won't listen about God. And to a lot of people, when they hear a message that you need to rely on God, you need to put faith in God, you need to believe in God and get your life right, and it's empty, idle words. It is. Most of the time when you bring up God, whether you lean on God or not, whether you're a Christian or not, they will automatically reject you. They'll automatically reject your message. They'll say, well, that's good for you. That's all well and good. God loves you. He's done this to me. Or that worked for you. I've tried it. It won't work for me. Or nothing good has ever come from God when it comes to me. And they shut themselves off. They have no hope or faith in God. And this is why things are a little bit different, because the circle that I'm in, the people that I surround myself with, they basically have a thanks to God. They basically know that I'm in this because I'm trying to live a godly life and I'm trying to see. And they seem to have it together. They have trials and tribulations like everyone does, but they have come to the point where they accept it and they know that the trials and the tribulations won't last forever and that they're a refining fire and they can come out of it better. They put their faith in God and their trust in God and knowing that things will be all right. Now, there's a few friends that I have that they don't believe in the God thing, or they don't believe quite the way that God is taught, but they still have the same concept of really a biblical life. They have do unto others. They build their life up, they work their life, but it's in service of other people. And they know that through other people's enjoyment and other people's peace and happiness and a smile on somebody else's face, it brings them overall joy. And then doing that first allows them to be able to enjoy life themselves. Whether it be they make their children happy or they make their wives happy or they try to make a loved one's life better. When that happens, they get a better life and they can enjoy vacations, they can enjoy trips, they can enjoy campouts in nature and everything like that because they're contributing to the well-being of other people. There are some people out there that are so addicted to the me. And when things happen to them and they're devastated, they try to fulfill that me mentality and fill it up with anything that they possibly can. Because God has failed them, because the Bible is a bunch of nonsense, because they are always a victim. Now I'm talking to people that may have a new walk in Christ and may not be secure, and they don't quite understand, although they're being promised this, why are they seeing this? I'm talking to people now that don't believe in the God thing, and I'm talking to people now that either they never have tried the God thing and they look down on it, or they have tried the God thing and things just got fundamentally worse and they rejected God because they feel God has rejected them. This isn't going to be an inspirational message about God and about keep on keeping on and about the faith and about anything like that. Because to me, honestly, when I was down at my lowest, in my desperation, I didn't want to hear anything about God. I wanted to hear something that would make things okay and something that would give me a reason to try to climb out of the gutter. And for a lot of people, they don't want God to be that reason. They don't have a relationship with God yet. They don't know God yet. They don't have the faith in God yet. And God will do nothing for them at that point in time. Me talking to them, I would say, based on my experiences, and I'm not a very open person. I don't mind talking about my experiences, but I'm private. And I'm an integrated person. I'm internal. I like to keep things about myself separate. Hence the filter right here, because even though you can see me, like I've said before, you can't see me. That makes me more comfortable. Even though you can see my house, you cannot see my house, which makes me more comfortable. And honestly, if you got to look at my ugly mug, completely 100%, then you probably just switch it and say, wow, that's not even an oddity, that's just nasty. But regardless, I have to put a little bit of humor. I'm the type of person that when I'm uncomfortable, I desensitize the subject and I make a joke to make it easier for myself. But I was always somebody that believed that I had to attract people by my charm and by looks and by what I could do to attract others to me. And if my phone wasn't constantly going off the hook, or if I constantly wasn't being hit on, or constantly, just like kids nowadays with the social media, that they need to have so much attention and they need to be bolstered, they need to be accepted, and they need to be told, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're wanted, you're wanted, you're wanted. That they need that so much that they can't have a healthy relationship because no one person can give them enough attention that they need, which is what's breaking up marriages and what's making so many children that aren't wanted, and what's leaving so much devastation in the wake. And I might get into that at a later date, but if you need to get assurance from other people, that's not a good place to start. But that's something else. I'm talking to the people, whether they may be homeless or whether they may have a happy family, but they're looking at losing everything because prices are up so high right now. Everything is just too expensive to do. And they're worried because they're going to put their family and their children and their wives into a spot where they may be homeless or they may not be able to eat, and they don't know what to do, and they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting, and they just seem to be sinking slower and slower. They can't keep afloat. I'm talking to people that's having a rough time with their marriages, or that they're estranged from their children, or they have addictions and they feel hopeless. Somebody that's lost someone, either through divorce or through a passing away, and they feel like their life is over because they've been with that someone and that someone was part of them, and now they don't know where to turn. Turning to yourself will never make you happy, ever. You need to see what's going to make you happy. Look at yourself, and although I'll try to warn you that material things won't make you happy, you may not be there yet. You may be saying, if only I can get this car that I've wanted for so long, if only I can get this house, if only I can get a certain amount of money in the bank and I don't have to worry about things, I can be a little happier. If only I can save up to take my children to a theme park, to show them how much I love them and to give them a happy, good experience where there's smiles on their face and everything like that. That may be good, but it's fleeting. Once you have that car, what are you going to do with it? Eventually, the happiness and the momentary pleasure of waxing the car and driving in the car and sitting in it for the first time and knowing I've gone somewhere and I've accomplished it. You look at that car, you may say, yeah, what a nice car. But sooner or later, that high goes away. You get that house, the high goes away, and then the maintenance of that house starts wearing in, where you can't keep it clean, so you have to hire somebody. Taxes go up, so you have to work more hours at your job. So you're missing time with your family. Now your wife is feeling ignored, your children are feeling ignored, you're busting your rump, and the only thing that you have to show for it is a house that's falling apart around you. You may say, well, I want to go on vacation, I may want to see the world, and I may want to all that. Okay, that's good. A lot of people, they retire, they want to see the world. A lot of people find joy and peace and that experience of seeing new things to make it, awe-inspiring and wonderful. I've never really had that, so I can't help you very much. You may find peace in that. I could imagine that. I used to really love traveling to different states, getting in the car, driving, see what I could see. I like that, but I've never felt a draw to go overseas and to see relics and to see the sightseeing stuff. Never really felt that way. But when it comes to theme parks and when it comes to certain experiences, when you have that rush and you see it for the first time, you can take pictures, you can look back, you can create fond memories and everything like that. But again, to a point, that wears away. After you've seen the picture or you've reminisced on something for the 100th time, it doesn't give you the same feeling as it did. And that's exactly like it is with alcohol and with drugs. And it's not everybody that's lost everything that wants to numb themselves. It's people that they think if they do this, then they'll have more friends because they're not judging and they're partaking in it, which means that they're easygoing and they're open and they like the rush and the feeling. But you need more and more of it to get the same rush and feeling. And sooner or later, when you get to a point past the happiness of alcohol and the happiness of narcotics, fights ensue. When you come out of it, you are down and you are in a down state of mind and you're irritable and you're depressed and you just want that feeling again. And everybody around you is telling you how much of an idiot you acted like. And you have to apologize to people for fights that you started or for just being sloppy. And you don't want that anymore because now your life is a little bit worse than what it was when you first did it. So you do it again to escape that little bit of life. And it goes downhill and downhill and downhill. And this is kind of something that I know about, that your life becomes to where it's one mess after another, apologizing and regretting what you've done. So you look for alcohol or you look for that way out more and more, realizing that even though you're taking a pause and you're numb from life, you're creating a hurricane and a devastation around you that at one point or another you're going to have to deal with. Whether everybody leaves you or whether you lose everything because your sense of responsibility is now gone and you're only looking for that pleasure. Then you find yourself on the street looking for that pleasure even more because the spot that you're in right now is nothing compared to what you were in when you just started looking for that pleasure. It is not a good thing to go down that road. So if you're starting to go down that road, stop. Find pleasure in something else. Don't be a victim. You may be on the street and you may say, what am I going to do to get off the street? Well, you know, there's a whole lot of people that back in the day, they just went out into the woods and they made a little shelter and that's where they stayed. And they went from being homeless, sleeping on a city street, to just not answering anybody. And they were hermits living in a little shack or living in a tent or living in something, but hunting, trapping, growing, providing for themselves, still not really having any money, but in a better situation than what they were when they were in a line waiting for food, or they were going to a food bank, or they were holding a can saying, please give, being a victim. They picked themselves up and they went off there. There's other people that were homeless that, well, I know like in New York you can't wash the windows anymore, which is a loaded bag. And I know where I'm at, they actually started making panhandling illegal, you know, because the friends with the fancy cars and the golf members, the clubhouse, whatever the hell you want to call it, the country club membership, with the mayors and the this and the that, they just didn't like having to drive by all the needy people on their way to the rich part of town. So they made panhandling illegal because they didn't want to be bothered with the reality that life happens and not everybody wins at life. I'm a little bit sore about that, because if panhandlers are bothering you so much, all you have to do is not give to them. That's it. If you're getting annoyed because somebody is begging you for money so they can eat, that doesn't make you a very good person. And if you don't like the way that the scenery is when you're driving to your multi-million-dollar mansion, take another route. It's people like you that are causing these people on the street because you've robbed them of their life and their income, and now you're robbing them even more. And you won't be happy until they're dead or out of the way. You don't wish any ill will on them, but if they would just conveniently disappear, you won't be reminded of what you've done. You're a piece of junk. But either which way, I digress. I'm sorry. I got kind of worked up on that. That goes into what I'm talking about with true happiness and true joy. I have a friend that at one time he had it all. You know, he had a wife, he had stepsons, loved going camping, had a job that he was excelling at, and he was getting into high management of the job. But he was always looking for something more, because, without getting into it, because it's not my story to tell, he had a very, very rough life. He had a rough upbringing by a rough individual that was God-fearing and biblically based. So he got an opinion formed that God isn't all he's cracked up to be. If somebody that's following God can do that and act like that, then he didn't want any part of God. And some of his family members are like that as well. But somebody made him feel pretty. Somebody gave him a little bit of an esteem boost that he didn't get when he was a child. He got the complete opposite. But because of that, he put a torch to everything. Left his wife, left his stepkids, ended up losing his job because this person that made him feel pretty, and it was exciting and it was new, I don't want to say introduced him, but enticed him and egged him on to drink more, drink more, drink more. Try this, smoke this, do this. You know, this is a party. Let's go play pool. Let's go out to a bar. Let's blow our money. Call into work today. All that stuff. And he ended up following a bad path because of this bad person. And then once he lost everything, this bad person cut and run and left him with nothing. And then regret started setting in. And then a habit of alcohol and everything started setting in, to where now it's not only can he not imagine his life without taking a drink, but he couldn't physically do it without causing major damage to himself. And he's just waiting for life to go by, be completely numb until his eyes don't open anymore. And it's heartbreaking, because this man is very close to me. He's like a brother, more than what my brothers are. And it's heartbreaking. And his family, that are like my family, we're watching it go by, and there's nothing that we can do to help him. Any inspiration, any motivation, anything, he just shrugs his shoulders at. He has no hope, no anything. And there are a lot of people like that. They're sleeping on the street corner right now. They're using the bathroom in public places, on public walkways. They're sleeping in tents in the middle of a city street. They're holding up signs saying, "Please help." And somebody might throw $1, might throw $5 if you're feeling a little bit generous because you've just left church, and although you've done your bit and you've tithed to that multi-million-dollar church that doesn't need the money, you're feeling a little bit more generous, so you'll give another $20 and that'll help the person's life, right? No, it won't. I'm not saying don't give, because people need help. What I am saying is make that person be heard. Show that person what you're supposed to be. Be a little light for that person. Most people nowadays are victims because they don't have a voice. People ignore them walking down the street. People never go and visit them. People never call them, and they feel abandoned and hopeless and left, and like they're not a person and they don't matter. And I'm talking to people that are on the street now, and people that feel like they have nothing to give. You have an ear. You have a kind word to say. If you have absolutely nothing because you're homeless right now, you can pick some wildflowers, or you can take that cardboard sign and you can find a rock, you can find something, and you can hold up a sign to somebody in the middle of an intersection. Instead of saying, "Homeless vet, please help," instead of saying, "Lost my job, please help," you can hold up a sign that says, "Your life matters. You're loved by somebody. Have a good day." People may honk, people may just roll up the window. Out of 100 people, one person may see that message, and you might change their entire life. Sit down next to somebody that's on the street with you and have a conversation with them. Make them feel like they're noticed, and make them feel like if they disappeared today, somebody would notice they were gone. You make your life better by helping others. I will say this, and I'll say this as a testimony. I didn't find joy and peace and contentment until my grandsons were born. I wasn't close with my children. I was always working, trying to make their lives better. But the majority of the time, I missed out on very memorable experiences because I was busy working to try to make their life better, to buy them more stuff and to get them a bigger house. You know, to have what I need so that way they're not looked down upon and they have good status and such. I was trying to take care of them, but it wasn't just taking care of them. I was trying to live vicariously through them, through material stuff that I didn't have when I was a kid, which drove me to that material stuff. It took an eye-opening experience of not having my children for the longest amount of time and having a very rocky relationship when they grew up that made me feel like I was hopeless. And even though I was trying to do and show them that I was finally there for them, that it wasn't money, that it was an ear and it was a hug that they wanted more than anything, it was almost too late. But my grandsons were born, and my two oldest children, they needed a little bit of help. Relationships didn't go well. They were single parents, and they needed someone to fall back on. I was here for them. Their mother wasn't, because their mother died, a few years before. But it was my time, and it wasn't let me work and buy all of this stuff for you. And it wasn't let me take you here and let me get here or anything like that. It was making them feel loved, making them feel heard, making them feel like they had somebody that they could rely on. That person was their father. Through that experience, I was able to raise my grandchildren, at least 2.5 of my oldest grandchildren. And there is nothing better, nothing, than having your grandchild cut up and goof around and laugh and act like a goof and get you laughing and running up and jumping on you and giving you a hug and knowing that they are completely safe, they are looked after, they are loved, they are taken care of. That gives me the joy and the peace. And I will tell you what, I've always been a warrior, I've always been a fighter, I've always had a problem with authority and bowing down, a little bit more of a problem than I should really have. But knowing the warrior mentality that I have, that I will do anything to keep those children safe and loved and happy, and I will burn everything down, and whether YouTube likes this or not, I will eat a heart to make sure my grandchildren never have to worry about anything. Now, can I stop people from hurting their feelings? Can I stop bad things from happening? No, I can't. But I can stop bad people. I can stop bad situations before they start. I can watch out for them. And that's what I fight for. And that's the warrior mentality. That gives me something to work at. That makes me productive. I will do anything that I need to do for my grandchildren to be safe. And it's not because I want them to think I'm Billy Badass. It's not because I want them to think that I am the best and I am the ultimate and they love me so much because they don't have to want for anything and they're safe and they're secure. It's not that. It's because I want to see that smile. It's because I want to see their hearts filled. That is the key to the entire thing. And no matter how down you are, it's making somebody else's life just a little bit brighter. It's living for those other people that will get you peace and contentment and joy, that will pick you up while you're on your back, that will give you a reason to fight. It'll give you a reason to stay in the fight. It'll give you a reason to have a sober mind because you're working at something. There's always someone that has it worse than what you do. And there's always someone whose life you can make better. Now, if you're a thug and you're just running around and you don't care how other people's lives are affected for your criminal deeds and for the things that you do, well, you need to grow up or go away. Period. Because sooner or later, it will bite you in the butt. I have no use for criminals watching a video today in California about all these teenage kids just running rampant, fighting everyone, hurting everyone, stealing, destroying, looting. This generation of children are lost, and they're looking for the guiding hand of an authority figure that is going to whoop the dog snot out of them and tell them that this behavior is unacceptable. It will get you nowhere but a jail cell or a pine box. You cannot act like that. And if you think you're going to get away with it, maybe you quite possibly could. As long as you don't run up on anybody like me. You know, you may make a whole lot of money through your stealing to be considered an elite. You might use people as a plaything. It will bite you someday. And if you're doing all of that stuff so you can live a fantastic, wonderful life, and you have more money that than you can spend, it's just going to go to somebody that you don't care about anyway. So why live like that? I don't know of anybody that it acts like that. It just makes me think of people pulling the strings. And I have a problem with people pulling the strings. But regardless, don't give up. You matter. You are loved by somebody. Whether they know you or not, you're loved by somebody. If you have just lost your best friend and the other half of your soul, there are other people out there. If you have children, they're reeling from it too. If you have a support group, they're going through the same thing. You made a connection with your soulmate. Make a connection with someone else. No one will ever take the place of what you just lost. But you can make other relationships, and you might benefit somebody for them having known you. If you're in a bad spot right now, keep going through it. Fight your way through it. Be a warrior. Stop being a victim. Victimhood is not a righteous thing. It's not a badge of honor. Victimhood makes you cowardly and petty and small. If you're a victim and it's beyond your control, bad things happen, and everybody is a victim of something every now and again. But if you stay just waiting in that victimhood, and you let things happen to you and let things happen to you, and your victimhood becomes a lifestyle, and now everything is happening to you, and you just keep getting hit with such a barrage that you cannot get back up. Put a stop to the victimhood. You are in control of your life, no one else. Stand up. I hope this message gets to somebody. Someone needs it, because this world is heartbreaking. If you think you have it good. I'm glad for you, and I thank God for you. But don't forget, and please remember where you could be or where you once were. Do your job as a human being and as a person. Live for someone else. Give yourself peace by giving somebody else peace and joy and contentment. Live to put a smile on someone else's face. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.